Hi guys, welcome to another Cabin Life. I'm Glenn,
I'm Maureen.
and today we are going to answer a question that's come up from a lot of our newer subscribers and viewers right here on Cabin Life. Yes, indeed, the question has been asked, and all in the name of YouTube transparency. We give you full disclosure, and that is something that we have always tried to do with our videos throughout our 7 or 8 years now of producing videos. We have over 450 videos, and by all means check them out. But you'll see that in almost every video we do try to mention that while this is our dry off-grid cabin, no running water, no hydro, that kind of a thing, we spend a lot of our time up here at the cabin. Since our cabin is right here on our 40 acres, it's just a matter of a hike back into the wilderness and off, away from the main road. The reason why we don't show you much about our homestead is because this is called Cabin Life, and we focus our videos on what's going on around the cabin, and we like sharing nature, and we have fun doing it.
Like Glenn says, we spend a lot of time here at the cabin because it's a nice place to be. It's quiet, it's away from the road and all that stuff, and it's a change from the homestead, and especially in the winter. So we come up here to relax a lot of times, enjoy the fire. It's a good time to enjoy the wood stove fire in the winter because it's cold outside. So we go for hikes and nature hikes, and we check our game cams. So there's a lot of other things that we do up here at the cabin other than just hang out at the cabin.
Now, Maureen prepares the meals when we're coming up here, whether it's for a couple days or a couple of weeks. She prepares all of the stuff and gets as much of it prepared so that and all we do is have to bring it up here, and we've taken care of the cooking, the heat. We have our nice comfortable bedroom area and whatnot. Now, for us, our journey has been actually a fairly long one in that it took us a lot of planning to have our dream of living in the remote wilderness, to have that come to fruition. And it didn't come right away. It definitely had us managing our finances, and we knew at a certain point, with the kids still growing up, wasn't really going to be that practical to try to remove the whole, move the whole family out into the remote wilderness where it'd be away from their school friends and activities and all that. So,
and work as well. So the practicality of living so far away from work and where the kids went to school and where we'd have to go for activities, we would have spent so much time on the road driving back and forth, it just wouldn't have made any sense.
Especially when one of our goals was to be as self-sufficient as possible and not have to depend on the grid for everything, and just having to travel back and forth on the roads alone meant put more gas in the car and more maintenance and time and everything else. So.
We did come from the city long time ago. When we first got married, we got married young, and we both wanted to head out of the city. We had the opportunity to, so we headed north, and we never looked back.
So just making the move from the city up into rural Ontario, moved actually near Georgian Bay. And to do that, took money management. We had to change jobs at that point. We were in our early 20s roughly. We wanted to make the transition, from that city life, and we wanted to get off the treadmill. We were tired of just getting by month to month to month and not really fully appreciating where we were. We'd much rather have been in nature, been out walking the trails and hiking in the forest.
Those years with the kids living out in that forest at that property, that made all the challenges of moving from the city to the small town all worthwhile to me.
So at that point we were still on grid, and eventually we sold that house and we moved out to a very small rural community had a small village nearby. We lived there for 20 years. Wow, time flies. And that's when we finally made our move. We had sold that property and we purchased 40 acres here in the wilderness in an unorganized township. So there's no rules, no permits required for a dry cabin, and that was it suited us quite well.
Our children had grown up and left the nest already, so we were empty nesters, we were retired. We didn't have the pull of needing to be going to work in the morning. Glenn had retired from the business that he was operating. And so we had the freedom of being able to stay on the property whenever we wanted to, right? Like we didn't have to go into town every day or into the village every day. That's where a lot of planning took place on when to go shopping and all that, because we coordinated everything so that we could spend as less time on the road as possible.
So we took the alarm clock and we shot it. And consequently, we found ourselves sometimes not waking up, and well, sometimes it would be very early in the morning, catch the sunrise and all that. But other times it was waking up around the crack of noon, and that's the choice that we had, and the freedom of choice that afforded us.
No, that's the big thing, that we made plans and we arranged so that we would be in the financial position that we could afford to do this. Like there's a big question out there, what do people do who live in unorganized townships or who live off grid or who live remotely? What do they do for income? And really everyone here who needs an income, they're doing whatever they would have done in the city as well. Like we have neighbors who they don't mind driving for their jobs. They've gotten work either for businesses close by or half hour whatever away, and that's their choice what they've done.
So if you want to live off grid, flick the switch. That's how easy it is, right?
Yeah.
Just flick the switch, turn off your water. Don't use that kind of thing. It depends on to what extent that you want to flick the switch, right? But the one thing, your electric power, you flick that switch and it all of a sudden presents all kinds of other challenges and whatnot that you learn to overcome. And then when the power goes out by surprise, you're prepared for that event.
We learned how to minimize the amount of electricity that we used. Even though we were on the grid, we were what we'd like to call minimalist on gridders, because we didn't want to be spending a lot of money for things that weren't necessarily needed to be running all the time.
I think we cut back on about 50% of the electrical accessories, doodads, gadgets, and all that kind of a thing. So to this day, I still use a battery-operated radio, and it comes in handy up here as well. Our clocks have batteries in them. We have battery-operated lights in the homestead and all here as well. So it's just part of. It's sort of an extension of the days when we went out camping. Kind of make do with the smallest amount of things.
What was nice about living in the cabin, like we lived in the cabin for 4 months during the winter, and we had to walk from where we parked our vehicle up to the cabin, hiked up the trail.
Was it uphill both ways?
Yeah, it was. We lived here for 4 months, and that really got us on to the no power, because we didn't have power and neither of us liked running the generator. We moved here too late in the season to really have solar be worthwhile, so we didn't go with the solar. So it was all battery power, like 2 solar lights, and then everything else was battery powered, and it really taught us on how to minimalize down. So when we moved into the homestead, we were used to not having every light in the house on.
We were on a pretty tight budget, and every move we made, we had to think about, the finances and is this feasible and is this the best move at this time. And that's why we didn't get a wood stove in the cabin right away, because we needed to process our firewood, which, like, we just moved on the land. We got lots of firewood, but they're in living trees. So that meant we had to wait for a whole year before we could utilize any firewood that could be chopped down and processed. So we went with the propane furnace in the cabin here, and now we have the wood stove. But we moved onto the land on a shoestring, so everything came, it didn't come easy, right? Everything came when it was, as it was needed and as we could afford to do certain things. We do have a homestead, but we don't put it on camera since this is cabin life after all, and we like to maintain some sort of privacy to our within limits. We have electric power there. We have a drilled well, and we have a pump that runs it. So we're not one of those poser YouTubers who try to convince their viewers that, they're living at the off-grid cabin full time, living off the land. We don't have a mansion across the road or in the city.
Yeah, we live here 24/7, and we truly are alone on the property.
Very rarely do we get company, other than we have friends and family that come to visit, and it's a big deal. It's a real deal when they come to visit. We really enjoy those times. We're certainly not recluse or hermits in any way. We talk to people every single day, mostly on the phone, on the internet. For the most part, we have a fairly solitary life, and we are alone a lot of the time, but we're not lonely. We don't have a lot of toys in the sense of, tractors, snowmobiles, no ATV, very little motorized equipment other than a vehicle that gets us into the village now and then, right? So, no, we're not a poser YouTube channel that tries to pull the wool over our viewers' eyes. We prefer to keep it transparent. I mean, if we were posers, I guess I could tell you, I'm going to go out with my bow and arrow and I'm going to hunt a bear and render its fat down and make some skin moisturizer for the winter because it's so dry. Link in the description if you want some. We're just trying to share what we have going on around the cabin, and we enjoy doing that. And we don't kowtow to the algorithm. We will make a video when we feel that there's something that's worthwhile sharing with you and putting on video. Oh, and the other thing too that you won't be seeing on our channel, you won't be seeing the wife twerking her butt. No, you won't be.
No.
Now, we would like to take the time to thank you, our viewers and our subscribers, for tuning into our channel and for leaving the comments. We love reading the comments, and it does give us a sense of community and a sense of sharing, and that's why we do this. So if there's certain questions maybe that you have, or a certain video that you'd like us to share with you, by all means, put it in the comments and we'll see what we can do. We also do a whole series of buying land videos. Maureen worked 30 years in the assessment property division, and she gained a lot of experience about buying land, about land ownership. So if you want some tips and some information about buying land, by all means, check out the series. Well, that's it for this one. I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
We'll see you next time, right here on Cabin Life. Over and out.
Take care.
Woohoo! And right, we've been living
Indoor, outdoor. We had these in
prepared YouTube videos that I for stumps. That's it's not a lecture. It's just something that I noticed that there is such a movement of the masses.